Good morning, folks. Thank you once again for joining me today. Appreciate it. We got a great show ahead. Luke Easter is here with us today from Tourniquet, or from, another band that was put together since Tourniquet, Stop the Bleeding, and got some great things to talk with Luke about. My co host in just a few minutes will be Rickard from Light the Dark Festival. And Rickard is hosting that festival. It used to be called Bob Fest, and Stop the Bleeding will be playing that along with White Cross and a few other great bands, and we'll talk to him about all of that. Good morning. Ian is here, and folks, by the way, if you're just joining me, would you please sign in? Let me know where you're watching from. It'd be great to welcome you and to see who's watching from where. I would love that. So it's a beautiful day here in Nashville. The rain has stopped. It's still a little cloudy, getting a little cooler. Finally, maybe we'll have a little bit of fall weather now, autumn weather, but it's been pretty warm. And our friend from Germany is here, and Stephen is here from Oklahoma. Folks are joining us from all over the place. Appreciate that. Most people watch this after the fact, after we're already finished. And if you're one of those that's watching the show after it's finished, continue to let us know where you're from and that you're watching. It'd be great to know all of that. So great week this week. Lots of how should I say, interaction from places all over the world, and I appreciate the people that stay in touch with us, that are involved with Sanctuary internationally and as well as locally. Always a treat, always a blessing. My good friend Chris Topher is here. He says shalom from St. Louis, Missouri, and good friend of the ministry. He's been here before. Jonas is here from Kenya. He says, good morning, family. This week I have the pleasure of my parents visiting. Wow, in Kenya. Great to have some time hanging out and catching up with them after almost a year of not seeing each other in person. Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that, and I know his parents, and great to have them visiting, I'm sure. AV is here. Good morning to you, AV. He says, how are you? I love it when people ask me that, because I love to say I'm doing great. And that's my answer. Yeah, great to see you this morning. Folks, again, if you're just joining us, let us know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see where people are watching from. And, we have a lot of friends in Germany. And I appreciate all of those that join us from there and from the uttermost parts of the world. And our friends in Europe are near and dear to my heart. Looking forward to being back in Europe in March, in Sweden and Switzerland and Denmark, and it'll be good to see all of our friends there once again. Good morning from Lansing, Michigan. Forrest Ray is here today, and a lot of us. MC is here from Holland. Great friends in Holland, and good folks in the Netherlands. Appreciate all those folks, and especially Sanctuary Holland. Hello from Daleville, Alabama. James, good to have you here with us today too. I'm walking on sunshine. That's a great moniker. Good morning from Stockton, Alabama. Good friends in Alabama joining us today. And folks, again, sign in if you would. Another one from Alabama. Great. Or Alaska. One of those. Scott is here from Gaylord, Michigan. And good to have you here, Scott. Folks, continue to let us know where you're from, where you're watching from. Chris from California. Got a lot of great friends in California. Appreciate you joining us, Chris. And Roger Dale Martin from Cocoa Beach, Florida. Roger Dale, you know him from Vengeance and a lot of other bands, and good friend of the ministry, and has been part of Sanctuary for a whole lot of years, Roger Dale. About 40 years now, isn't it? 40 years next year. Jonah said, my parents say hi. My mom still remembers the band retreat. Yeah, in her backyard. She's looking forward to meeting up again in March. Yeah, we had a band retreat in Denmark. Gosh, I don't even know how many years ago. Jonah, she'll have to tell us. But many, many years ago. And we had it at their home and set up tents in the backyard and all of that. And we had a lot of band people that came, and it was a great retreat, wasn't it? I do remember it very well. Steve and Sharon are here. Hello, Pastor Bob, they say. Folks, let us know where you're watching from. Good morning from Jeremy, Indianapolis, Indiana. And great folks in Indiana. Lots of really great friends there. Brian, our good friend Brian from St. Louis. Good to see you, Brian, once again. Great friend. And Adrian is here from Springfield, Ohio. We're looking forward to being back in Ohio this summer for the 40th anniversary Sanctuary celebration at Immortal Fest for the first one. And I'll be hosting both events once again this year, both Immortal Festival events. So we'll tell you more about those as we get everything put together. Good morning from Indiana. James is here with us today. And good friends, mostly so far from the United States, it looks like. So, but people are joining us from a little bit of everywhere. Zeb is here from Austin, Texas. Said, my son and I met you at Immortal Fest this summer. Awesome, Zeb. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again if you're coming back. And folks, if you haven't been there yet, put it on your calendar. Great time together. Lots of great bands that we're going to be showing again. Adrian says, it's great to see you having Luke on the show. It was a pleasure and honor to have met him at Immortal Fest and purchase his Tourniquet jacket. Wow, that's awesome. That's a big deal. So, yeah, Tourniquet jacket. That's pretty cool. Aaron says, good morning, good afternoon, I guess, from Ireland. We've got great friends in Ireland, by the way. And I need to get back to Ireland one of these days. It's one of my favorite places to visit. So good to have you here, Aaron. And Steve is here from Connecticut. Good morning, Steve. Well, folks, I have a special co-host today, and he is Rickard from Light the Dark Festival in Sweden. Good morning, Rickard.
Good morning.
Good to see you today. Rickard, you and I have been friends since 1999.
Yeah, that's right. Long time ago.
It's 25 years.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, neither one of us have changed at all, have we? We still look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Rickard, we've got 25 years later, 26 years later now, actually a spin-off of Bob Fest, and this is called Light the Dark Festival. Such a great festival coming up, and you did the first one last year. The second annual is, well, actually this is the first one. You did Bob Fest last year.
We did a Bob Fest reunion because it was 25 years since the first one. So
yes. So what do you remember about the first one, Rickard? That was 1999.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. What are your memories?
We have very great memories from that one, but it was also a lot of chaos. So when we had the concerts at on Friday at it was a church that rented a car store, and we came
Yes.
there, and we put all the equipment up, but they didn't have the right connections to plug in the electricity. So that was the first problem we had to solve. But we have the luck that it was a car, a company one stair down that have the plug we needed, so we could use the electricity from them.
Yes.
And the other thing that happened the first night was that the sound guy, he couldn't come. So all by a sudden we had to ask Torbjörn from Veni Domine to do the sound. So
Vinny Domine, yes.
yeah, and
You had Vinny Domine play last year, didn't you?
yes,
Yeah,
they did a
right.
reunion. So it
would
was
have been
really great.
It would have been fun to hear them again. They haven't
Yeah.
been playing as a band for quite a while, so that was
Oh.
a nice reunion.
10 years they
Yeah.
have been silent. So
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So, Light the Dark Festival,
yeah,
in it's not in Linköping this year. It's in what city is it in?
Norrköping. So
Yeah,
it's
Linköping.
like
It's almost Linköping.
yeah,
Right.
it's really close between Linköping and Norrköping. So
Yes.
it's like twin cities.
Yes. Yeah, and some of our real good friends that I still stay in touch with actually live in Soderköping as well. So tell us a little bit about Light the Dark Festival. We've got, of course, Stop the Bleeding will be there,
Yeah.
which is exciting. You've got White Cross
Yes.
going to be there. Tell us about the other bands that are coming.
We have 12 bands, and Stop the Bleeding was the first one we booked.
Yes.
And so everything started from there. And then White Cross is the headliner for Friday, and Stop the Bleeding for Saturday. And then we have HB doing a reunion. So for the moment, they only have 2 members in the band, but at the festival, they will be like 5 or 6 members in the band. So it's really great to have them reunite as well.
Yes, it is.
And then we have Deuteronomium from Finland, and it's really rare that they play live now because the drummer lives in US.
Yes.
It's a great opportunity to see them again at Light the Dark. And
great band, and I've worked with them a lot of times over the years.
yeah,
Really, really great guys. I'm so glad you're having them. So who else?
we have Confessions of a Traitor from UK.
Yeah.
And also Meet You Maker from UK. That is a new metalcore band that we believe in very much for the future. They have released 3 great songs so far. And then we have Våde from Norway.
Yes.
And the drummer in Våde was the drummer in Ole Börud's Flesh Killer a few years ago.
Okay.
And the singer in Våde is now singing in Vain also.
Wow. Cool.
So, and then we have All for the King from Sweden.
Yeah, great.
We also have Ended from Sweden.
Yeah.
And Of Ash from Sweden. And we who else have I missed?
That's all right. Well, that sounds like a good lineup. I'm looking forward to hearing all of them.
We have Drottnar from Norway.
Yeah.
And Scandinavium from Sweden.
Good. Well, and folks, if you've never traveled abroad, those of you that are in the United States, this is a great time to get away and just do something very different. If you're in Europe or anywhere close, you don't want to miss this festival. It's going to be very definitive. Again, really great bands and a lot of great things happening there. So, putting on a festival, Rickard, is a lot of work.
Yeah.
There are some days when you think, okay, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Some days are different. And you know, whenever I arrive at a festival, I look at the faces of the promoters and I can tell that they're stressed. There's so many things on their mind. There's so many things to do. And many times, and Daniel Dolberg, who used to, you know, head things up with Bobfest, I just remember being there every time, and Daniel goes, "This is my last year," because he was just so stressed. And then
Yeah.
of course, we'd do it the next year again,
Mm.
and that's typical of almost every festival that I do. It's a lot of work, isn't it? What
Yeah.
keeps you going? Why do you keep doing it?
I think because no one else is doing it, I have to.
Yeah.
But it's also like we want the metal community alive, and because we have missed a festival like this in Sweden for a very long time now, and every now and then I have tried, but sometimes I have failed, and sometimes I didn't have enough power to do it. But when the idea of reuniting Bobfest came up, it was the right time for everything. It was God's timing, so everything clicked from the beginning. So from there, I got inspiration for a lot more.
Good. And you get hooked after a while, don't you? You know, it is such a great time together. It's very definitive. It's a time that everybody looks forward to, and you hate to go home because you have
Yeah,
such a great time with everyone. It's also a place, Rickard, where people make lasting friendships,
yeah,
and you've become friends with people at Bobfest many years ago that you're probably still friends with today,
yeah,
because um, as we always say, we are metal, we are family, but it is a family, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So it was like a family gathering at Bobfest this year. So I hope all that visit Bobfest last year will come this year again, and a lot of more people as well.
yes, absolutely. Well, and Jonas says Drottner, and they were at Green Light District Festival. Yes, they were great showmen and a great band always to look forward to. The old singer actually has been here in Nashville to visit me, and they're really great friends of the ministry. And yeah, if you haven't seen Drottner, they're a very different band, aren't they? They dress as uh, is it Russian military costume?
Something like that.
I think it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's interesting and
mm,
great musicians. Looking forward to that so much.
yeah.
Well, we have a lot of folks joining us from all over the world, and folks, if you're one of them, let us know where you're watching from. Jim McCain is here. Good to see you, my old friend. And we have a lot of folks from all over the world. And we're hoping that some of those people from all over the world will join us at Light the Dark Festival in Sweden this year. And if they want to know more information about the festival, Rickard, they can go to right here, lightthedark.se. And
Yes.
folks, go there, take a look at the website. All the information you need is there. Not only the information about the festival, but accommodations. People say, well, where would I stay? How do I get there? How do I travel? All of that is right there on the website, and everything you need to know about your stay in Sweden. So we're hoping, are ticket sales going fairly well?
We have a campaign next week out the Black Week and Black Friday with 20% off. So if you are thinking about
Oh,
going to Light the Dark, it's a perfect time to buy your tickets next week.
good, good. That's a really good deal. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Good. Well, I'm sure looking forward to being there again. It's been too many years, and
yeah,
seeing all of my great friends in Sweden. Um, we've done 3 different festivals in Sweden in years past, and looking forward to doing that again. Phil is here, or Paul is here, excuse me. He says, miss you much and look forward to very much to Light the Dark. Of course, Paul is head of Nordic Fest and Nordic Mission. Uh, that's kind of where everybody gets their Christian metal music from. And appreciate him, and good friend of the ministry as well.
yeah.
So lots of great folks joining us, people from all over the world, metalheads from all over the world. And speaking of really cool people, Rickard, we have joining us in just a few minutes, we have Luke Easter here. And Luke is one of the bands that will be playing Light the Dark Festival.
Yeah.
Luke, as you know, was singer in Tourniquet. He was at Bob Fest at 2005.
So it will be 20 years since
Yes,
last time. So
that's right. So
so
it's an anniversary for him as well.
yeah,
And we'll talk a little bit with Luke and see what's going on with Stop the Bleeding, the new band. We'll talk about the festival coming up, the life of Luke Easter, and kind of what makes him tick. And we're looking forward to having him joining us in just a minute. Folks, don't go anywhere. We're about to be right back. Hello, family. I'm excited to be with you this year at Light the Dark Festival. We're going to have a great time in Norrköping, Sweden, March 28th and 29th. Great bands, great fellowship. I can't wait to be there with you. Don't miss it, folks. Get your tickets now. They're on sale. And I look forward to seeing you in March. And we're back with our special guest today, Luke Easter. Luke, it's good to see you today. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me. It's good to be here.
You know, I have the pleasure of seeing Luke often, and I love that. He's been part of our sanctuary crowd here in Nashville, and always at our gatherings, and we have a good time, Luke. And yes, we do. Luke and his wife are here, and love having them part of the Sanctuary family. Luke, we've been friends for a long time, and you know, when we talk about Light the Dark Festival, you actually go all the way back to Bobfest 2005, and we have a great picture of Tourniquet and Pastor Bob around the piano. I wonder if we could put that picture up. There it is. That's 2005. That's a long time ago, isn't it?
That is a long time ago.
Yeah, it
You
is.
still have the hair. Oh, I still have the same haircut. You still have the hair.
Yes. Yeah, that great memories, great memories. And here we are again, about to do it again. So that's awesome. So, Rickard, you chime in with whatever questions you have too, and
Yeah.
we'd like to ask Luke questions about Tourniquet, Stop the Bleeding, a little bit of history. But Luke, why don't we go back to the very beginning? And you know, I guess your beginnings, at least in your singing career, Tourniquet was a big one for you, but that wasn't your first rodeo.
I started singing when I was a kid. I started kindergarten early. I went to a Christian school. I used to sing solos in chapel starting when I was like 4. And you know, I always loved music. I always loved singing, and played my first band with some high school friends, and was the world's worst bass player. And then decided I wanted to be a singer and auditioned for a band and did that for a while. Probably played maybe 8 or 10 shows in a 3-year period, and then immediately jumped from that to Tourniquet in '93.
Wow. So, dude, that's a whole lot of history, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
was fun. I mean, it's educational. Every time you think you know what you're doing, you realize you don't. You know, so it's always the challenge of
Yeah.
keeping things fresh, keeping things interesting, and being open to learning new ways of doing it, and new ways of approaching the craft.
Yes. Yes. Well, you know, I remember, you know, so many years ago with the Tourniquet guys before Ted came into the band, actually, when it was Guy and just the very beginnings of the whole thing. And I remember, I can't remember the band that they had before Tourniquet. Do you remember the name?
Holy Danger.
Yeah, Holy Danger, right. When it was Holy Danger. And I remember them looking for the drummer. I actually went to Ted's home, I believe, with Caesar Kalinowski, and this was the guy that they were considering for Tourniquet. I met with way back then at his home in Wisconsin, and yeah, just such a great beginning, such a great band, and you came along. What year?
'93, June '93.
Okay, yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? It's a
I
long
flew
time.
by.
Yes,
It's 30 plus years ago now.
there we
Crazy.
go. There's an old picture there, isn't it?
That's the
Yeah.
first official photo of Tourniquet with me in the band.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, I love that. And Victor, of course, went to Intense Studies all those years ago. Got to know him very well, and lots of great band meetings in my home, and yeah, just a really great band. Um, so things changed a little bit when you became the singer. Style-wise, a little bit. Your voice was quite different, and uh, tell us a little bit about that metamorphosis of the band, the time when you started singing.
So I joined for the Pathogenic tour. And so
Yeah.
All anybody heard me sing for the first year or so was the first 3 albums. And because my voice was different than Guy's, I think that opened up some possibilities that they hadn't considered before. And it was kind of, it was the era. I mean, the Black Album had come out from Metallica and things had shifted. And I think people realized you could write a heavy record and still make it be really catchy and really melodic. And so it's just kind of it was just the right timing. And so we did what became Vanishing Lessons. It was different, but at the same time, I don't think it's any less heavy than what had come before. It was just a little bit different approach to it. And it seemed to catch on. People seemed to like it. And it's trippy. It's been 30 years this year since that record came out.
Isn't that amazing? 30 years. It doesn't seem possible.
If I'd known that I'd still be singing those songs 30 years later, I might have pushed to do them in a slightly lower key. But, we still get it done. And I can still, thankfully, hit those notes. I just have to work harder.
Yes. Yeah, you never know what God's going to lead you to do you?
Nope.
Yeah. So the band was intense. And I remember from our, we used to have band meetings in my office in California, and I remember the intensity of the band meetings. And I guess if there are a lot of words that I would use to describe Ted, the drummer who has passed away now. And besides him being a genius on the drums and a genius musically, honestly, and a great friend, I guess one of the words that I would use, Luke, would be intense. He was always intense, always thinking, always had his way of doing things. I remember, I played keyboards on Skizik's Dilemma, and I came into the studio, and Ted is the one that grabbed the guitar and said, "Okay, here's what I want you to do," and he played it on the guitar, and I mimicked it on the keyboard, and we put it together, and it was amazing for me to watch him just kind of pick up random instruments and be able to play well. He was a genius, a phenomenal guitar player, or a drummer, and
guitar player.
Say it again.
And guitar player.
Yes, yeah, and a guitar player. Yeah, very good at it. And tell us a little bit about working with Ted, and you worked with him for a whole lot of years, and we missed him. We miss him being around.
I do. You're right. He was intense. He was super creative. Once he had a vision for the way he wanted something, he would go to almost any extreme to see that vision through. That band, in all of its variations, it just always seemed to attract really strong personalities. And that's some of why I think any band has behind the scenes drama, and we certainly had our share of it. But I think a lot of it was because we were just, really strong personalities, and sometimes that clashes. But in a lot of ways, I owe so much of what I know and how I approach performing and just music in general to Ted. I knew nothing when I joined that band, and I wrote it out with him from 93 to the end of 2015. So, I mean, that's a pretty, long tenure. And he always challenged me. I like to think I challenged him a bit too. I mean, the further into the relationship we got, he would write vocal lines like a drummer, and then I would have to push back and say, yeah, I can't really sing that because there's nowhere to breathe, and so we'd have to battle it out a little bit. Sometimes, in pre-production, sometimes right there at the mic in the studio. But by nature, I tend to like to collaborate. just the way I work, but I learned how to do it more so, and probably to be a little more diplomatic about it, working with Ted. Because he did have a vision. And so sometimes it was a very specific delivery that he needed. It didn't make any sense in the moment. But then once you finally hear it all put together, you're like, oh, that's why you had me beating my head against the wall for 6 hours. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of people's experience, and intense. And he did have a vision. Yeah, just a genius when it comes to music. And, you know, those albums, Vanishing Lessons and on, you know, such great albums. And of course, the ones before. Yeah, great albums. Rickard, I'm doing all the talking. Do you have a question you want to add?
Yeah, I can ask a little about, in 2015, your time in Tourniquet was over. Can you tell a little about what happened from your point of view?
That's dangerous territory. All I will say is that I did not leave. I just suddenly got a phone call and found out I did not have a band anymore. And I don't know the reasons for that. I don't know. All I know is that the press release was already written and I was no longer the singer. So that was a tough pill to swallow. That was a big adjustment, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, bands tend to be volatile. I mean, look how many bands, you know, come out, they're successful, and boom, they just disappear. So to work with the same person for almost 23 years is, you know, that's an accomplishment. So yeah. I don't really have, you know, I can't say I have any regrets. I wish it had wound up differently, but you know, it is what it is. And I went on to do other things, and he went on to, you know, do some more Tourniquet stuff. And, you know, the world is big enough for everybody to do their thing. So I'm just happy that I had the opportunity I did for as long as I did. And because of that I'm still able to do what I love, which is make music.
Yes, absolutely. And how interesting. And of course, you could never know that all of these years later, you and Guy would be doing, you know, sharing the vocals with the remnants of the band. And well, tell us how that happened. How did that come about?
After Ted passed away, Gary and I were talking a lot, and you know, one of the things we had thought of was, you know, maybe trying to do like some all-star show where everybody who had ever gone, you know, through the ranks of that band all got together for, you know, one big show, and, you know, just rotate in and out depending on who played what when, and do a big show. And we could just never figure out how to do it. So I think if I remember correctly, they had been contacted about possibly doing a Flood show. You know, Flood is the project that Gary and Guy had started. Yeah. They put out 2 records, really good records. But it occurred to Gary that why don't we do, you know, I think people might be more interested, you know, in that right now than a new band. And so we started talking that out. We put out the invite to everybody. And when the dust settled, it was him and Guy and me that were like, yeah, let's do this. And we figured out how to make it work. We hired the people we needed. And I give a lot of credit for that also to Devin Chalk. He played drums for us at Immortal Fest. He reached out to Gary. They live close to each other, and they met up for lunch. And Devin was like, why aren't you doing a show? And how can I be the drummer? And so from that, it kind of exploded into what you saw at Immortal, and, you know, what we're going to be bringing to Sweden in March.
Yes. Yeah. And awesome. And are you announcing, are you able to talk about who's playing drums for the show? I don't know if that's covered or not.
I think we've announced it. It's David Husvik. from Extol. He'll be playing drums at that, and then at this point, the rest of the band, it'll be Neil and Anna who played with us, and then Gary, Guy, and me. It's been cool getting to know Guy a little bit, because I mean, we'd met a few times over the years, but we'd never really hung out. So doing rehearsal and then doing the shows and stuff, it was, I mean, even if we were doing nothing else past that show, it was really cool to get to connect with Guy and to play with Gary again for the first time since '96. So
that's so awesome.
It's been cool.
Yeah, and great guy. So many stories I can think of from the old days even. But yeah, a really great guy. And David Husvik, man, what a drummer.
Yeah.
If there's anybody that I would choose to play instead of Ted, it would be David. He's incredible and the greatest guy in the world. I mean, just one of my favorite guys. He's a huge part of the ministry there in Norway, in Oslo. From the underground ministry there. I've worked with those guys for a whole lot of years and in touch with David all the time. And of course, David's playing drums on the Flood albums also, which is, Flood has been such a great band. But yeah, it's going to be great to see you guys play. And I'm really looking forward to seeing David play with you. That'll be awesome.
That'll be fun.
Yeah,
Devin did a really great job in Ohio as well. Different style of player, different feel, but I mean, he nailed it. He put in the work. So the bar has been set, and I'm looking forward to seeing what David does to hit that bar or surpass it. But regardless, it's going to be fun.
Well, through the intensity and all the well, let's just say intensity with Ted, he's a hard act to follow on the drums. He is really one of the best drummers around. And
he's a tough act to follow, period.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people, so.
Yes. Rickard, you have other questions?
So how is the future look for Stop the Bleeding? Will it be more after Light the Dark, or is this a temporary thing you are doing?
It's a good question.
It's open-ended. So we're doing Light the Dark, and then we're going back to BMI Center in June. We have a show with Spoken first weekend in June. And then after that, it's just kind of open-ended. We would like to do more. There's stuff that we've discussed, but nothing set in stone at the moment. But I don't think that this is the end for us. I think that we have more to say and more to accomplish, and I think there's a future for the three of us together.
Will it even be like a band that recorded new music in the future?
Possibly. It's too early to say. Like I said, we've talked about a ton of stuff, but I don't want to say, we've discussed this, that, or the other, and then have people get mad in a year when we haven't done anything yet.
Yeah, and you've got some great songwriters there too. I mean,
they're really good, and I do my best. So
yeah, that's awesome. John, do we have some questions from our audience today? Possibly, if you can put those up, we'd like to entertain those. Adrian says, Luke, how did you feel taking the stage at BMI for Immortal Fest? That's a great question.
So it is a good question. It was actually my second time. I played the year before with Reign of Glory, which was a nice way of dipping my toe back in the water, because it had been a while since I'd been on stage. So by the time we got to this past summer playing Stop the Bleeding, I was ready for it. But I still was not prepared for the response. Everybody was awesome, and it was like a homecoming. Everybody was super positive and so happy to see us, and the energy, was palpable from the minute the doors opened. So it was awesome. It was awesome.
Really was. And and you can always tell how much a person is a fan by how much they sing along with the songs. And you had the whole crowd singing along, which was awesome. Great to see.
I like things to feel like not a party, but it shouldn't just be you are here watching us. It should be we are all doing this.
Yeah.
We're just you're kind of leading it, but it, sing it. It's more fun. It's not any less work in a lot of ways, but it's more fun because then it is more of a group experience more than just here, let me entertain you.
Yes.
So.
And we use the word family, Luke, and it really is that, isn't it? It's
Yes.
a family event.
Yes.
A family getting together and not only celebrating the fact that we're a family in Christ, but that we're a family musically. And this is, I remember music growing up to the point where sometimes I even remember what I was wearing when I first heard a song. I mean, those memories are ingrained in us. So it's not any small thing when you bring back music that has such a special place in your heart, which is what Immortal Fest has been. And we're going to do it again, 2 events this summer again, and I'm excited for that to happen. But it's a family event. It's a family coming together. It's seeing people that you've communicated with all of these 40 years now, and it's priceless. It's priceless.
Totally. That's a perfect description for it. It's priceless.
Awesome. Rickard, do you have another question?
Yeah. Luke, you can tell a little about your solo album. It was a big change music-wise from the stuff you did in Tourniquet. How did the fans reacted on the popular stuff?
The response was actually really good. I wanted to be John Bon Jovi when I was growing up, and I wound up in a metal band, which I never would have predicted. And then I wound up arguably being good at being in a metal band, which I never would have predicted. So when I decided I wanted to do something, solo, even before I left Tourniquet, even before we parted ways, it leaned more in a hard rock, pop rock kind of direction, just because that's how my brain works. So Chris, my producer, who actually said hello at the top of the show, he said aloha from California.
Yes.
When we started discussing what to do, we had a bunch of the songs that we worked up and demoed, and so we picked through those and grabbed some of those, and then I wrote a couple more to finish it out, and we just went for it. But I was really nervous at how it was going to be received, which is part of why it has the title that it does. I called it the Pop Disaster because I figured it could just explode in my face and people might hate it. But I also figured that if I kind of made a joke about it on the front end, that it would take the sting off whatever, somebody else could say. But I was pleasantly surprised. People really enjoyed it. The response was overwhelmingly positive. And I hope I plan to do more. I have a follow-up written. We just need to figure out the when and how of recording it, but there will very likely be a follow-up in the future to Pop Disaster.
Awesome. Are you writing music? Do you continue to write as ideas come?
I do, and I go in spurts. After some time had passed, once Pop Disaster was done, I started writing some more, and then COVID hit, and I was like, "Oh, cool, we have free time. I'll write a bunch of stuff," and then couldn't write anything because I was just so stressed out and preoccupied with all that nonsense. Then after I moved to Nashville a year and a half ago, I banged out the rest of the record and sent Chris a ton of, or not a ton, sent him about 10 or 12 really, really bad demos of what I hope are solid songs. Because I don't play anything really well. So my demos they're not great.
But they're in there.
They're in there, and there's enough in what I send him that he can decipher it. It's one of the, I mean, he's a great producer, he's a great friend, but we've also known each other for so long that he gets my references and he understands what I'm trying to achieve when I send him something. And
cool.
So he kind of sift through it and find the nugget in all of the dirt.
Yeah, and that's man, that's valuable to have friends like that, and
Yes.
friends get you.
Yes.
John, do we have any more questions from our audience? If you want to put those up. Is Stop the Bleeding coming out with a new CD? Jim wants to know.
I have no answer for that. It's way too early to say yes, no, or otherwise. We're just focusing on these shows and trying to figure out what the future looks like past June.
And I'm sure just saying it's not off the table.
It's not off the table, but it's also not, something that we're, actively pursuing at the moment.
Yeah, I totally understand. Rickard, did you have another question?
Yeah, I can follow up that a bit. Is there any chance that Stop the Bleeding can regain the rights to use the Tourniquet name?
Well, that's probably a little. That's a little. Yeah, that gets into a whole lot of legal stuff that I'm sure. First of all, I'm sure we can't talk about, and secondly, I think all of those are honest questions that people have. But I'm just excited, Luke, to see Stop the Bleeding.
Yeah.
I think if you never did anything more than Stop the Bleeding, I think that in itself is such a remarkable thing. And I'm excited for that to happen. John, do we have any other questions from our audience? I want to make sure that we get all of our questions answered. Let's see. Adrian says you did a great job. As you could tell from my reaction to meeting you, you were signing your jacket for me. I fanboyed big time meeting you. He must have bought your old Tourniquet jacket.
Yeah, we had done a limited run of these fake leather, like biker jackets, big Tourniquet logos embroidered on the back of them, and
yeah,
I didn't wear mine, so I brought it to Immortal and figured somebody else might, want to give it a home. And Adrian bought it, and he's a super nice guy, and he seems to really love the jacket. And I'm glad he has it. Glad he's happy with it. And it was awesome to meet him.
That's awesome. Well, and he's got a question. He said, do you prefer to lay down the vocals before the instruments, or lay down the instruments and then the vocals? Good question.
Instruments first, because then you know what everybody else is doing, and then you can sing over it. Even when I demo, there's always some kind, at least a loop, a drum loop and some kind of riff, so that I understand what's going on.
Yeah, and even if the instruments are scratch tracks, not the final ones, they really help in getting the feel for the album, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Important.
How are you gonna know the pitch if there's no instrument down there? You won't know what to sing.
Yeah, exactly. Rickard, another question?
Yeah. Tourniquet was very outspoken about animal rights. Is that interest you still have, or was it more of an interest Ted had?
It's something that I am interested in, but it is something that Ted was more passionate about.
He was hugely passionate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes annoyingly passionate, because sometimes it would preclude other things that arguably were more important in the moment. But it is something that we do care about. I don't know if it is something that STB will wind up being known for, but it is something that we're still actively concerned about.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, and Stop the Bleeding actually has its reference there. Greg Lenaire, our good friend from Applehead and from a little known punk band called The Crucified, said Lucky will be making a guest appearance on the next Applehead album. I think he said Lukey.
Yeah,
He called you Lukey.
I'll have to address that when I see him next.
There
But
you
yeah,
go.
he sent me a track, and I took a pass at playing with the melody a little bit and sent him back a demo. And yeah, as soon as we figure out what works for both of us, I'll be doing a vocal for the new Applehead record. So Greg and I will be trading off on that song. So that'll be cool.
Man, I look forward to seeing that. Applehead is such a great band.
Yeah.
Done an amazing job with it, and he continues to write, continues to record. Good stuff. I'm so glad to see you're coming up on that. That's awesome. Rickard, another question?
Yeah. Can you tell a little about your faith journey? You have stayed firm in your faith, while many other in the metal scene have lost their faith. What is the secret for you?
Great question.
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to commitment. It's like any other relationship. You're going to have your good days and your bad days. You're going to have times where you're happy in the relationship and times where you're not, but you made a commitment. And so the relationship has value and you work at maintaining it. And I'd be a liar if I said that, I loved every moment of being, a follower of Jesus. But I also would be a liar if I said that I'm the poster child for how to do it right. At the end of the day, I'm like anyone else. I'm a broken person who needs. I need something that's beyond me and outside me, who has actual power and control and can save me, not just from the world around me, but save me from myself. And I'm bought in. I believe it all. Like I said, I don't always live out well, but I 100% believe it. All of it, the sin and redemption, the crucifixion, the resurrection, all of it. I don't understand how people walk away from the faith. And I honestly, when a lot of people talk about how they've deconstructed, and I don't like that word. I think it's overused. I've deconstructed parts of how I grew up to try and figure out why was that a thing and is that applicable now. But when people take it even further and start just tossing out things, I don't agree with this part of scripture, or I've decided Jesus didn't mean this when he said that. I think it's super narcissistic. I think it's people trying to reframe the argument and rebuild God in their image so that they're comfortable rather than being uncomfortable, which I think is part of what Jesus called us to. I mean, he said, take up your cross and follow him. That doesn't sound really comfortable to me.
No.
But I don't know if that answers your question or if I kind of went off on a tangent, but I don't know any other life. I don't know any other way to live life. And so right, wrong, or otherwise, this is my life, and I will follow until I drop.
And one of the other things you have going for you, Luke, honestly, besides your own personal faith, is that you married very well.
Yes.
Kelly
Yes.
is awesome. You see some wives that almost resent what their husbands do musically. She's your biggest supporter.
she's all about it. She loves the music. She loves me being in bands. She loves it. I did
Yeah.
marry up.
Very godly woman.
She's
And,
awesome.
Yeah, she is awesome. And what a great the Bible calls her a helpmate, but it really is that. And when you marry well and you marry someone that you can grow in your faith with, your faith becomes even stronger, doesn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, we are out of time, and I think we could probably go another 2 or 3 hours.
Easily.
To hear it, and we'll come back and do this again, Luke. I think it would be.
I'd love to.
Maybe we'll come back and we'll talk about the festival, Light the Dark festival, after the festival. Shall we do
Debrief.
that? Yeah,
Yeah.
be great. Yeah, we'll look forward to that. Guys, thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank
both
you.
of you joining us today. Folks, thank you for joining us today too. Always good to have you here with us. And next week, we've got the guys from Grave Diggers are going to be here. We meant to have them on Halloween, but we'll do it on Thanksgiving instead. Not the typical Thanksgiving band, but we are thankful for the guys. And they'll be here with us next time. But folks, don't you forget, you are blessed. So go and be a blessing.